Hey there, Wendy here with Jazzydoodledesigns, and today we're going to work in Mermaids in Paradise. And what I thought we would do is, hey there, Wendy here with Jazzydoodledesigns, and today we're going to film part 5 of our series of working with our gel crayons. And I'm going to show you some of the techniques. Today we're going to work in Mermaids in Paradise by Denise Klett. Such a fun little book. And I chose this page because it has a variety of things. We've got a lot of open sky, and then we've got our water that we can use kind of like a blending technique on, and then we have detail work that we can talk about if we want to use pencil for, or if we can use some different techniques to get into some of these smaller spaces. So I thought we would start off with a dry technique. So this is a King Art, that's the metallic, aqua blue. Now this is pretty creamy, and I am just putting it on my palette, and then I'm going to pick it up with a paint or a makeup brush. So I'm just picking it up on my brush and then applying it. Now different brushes are going to give you different effects. So we're going to use this kind of in our bigger areas. Am I going to get it on the side? Probably. Because, you know, that's what I do. But now this brush is kind of big to go into those smaller areas. So we can experiment with using some other tools. But this is kind of a nice way to use these gel crayons without water. Because I know a lot of people are intimidated to use water in their books. So this is one method to kind of get away from that. But would it be better to have a smaller brush? Yeah. Okay. Now I'm not too worried about this top part because I am going to use a darker color. So let's go in, and I can do it right over the top of this one, because I don't care. If you did care, you would want to use a separate part of your palette. But this is kind of a fast and easy way of doing a background. And like I said, you don't have kind of the downside of using the water. Now this doesn't work as well with the harder mediums. They don't pick up on this brush the same way. So this would be a good example of where like these creamier mediums work a little better. Should I have a piece of paper behind my page? Yes, I should. Okay. I am going to add an even darker blue up at the top. I'm using the same brush because you can just wipe this off. But in this case, I kind of like the variance of color. To me, it kind of gives a little bit of an illusion of clouds. Okay. Now, let's see what we can do to get into some of our smaller areas. I am going to try makeup brushes. So let's try that. I want to use the lighter blue. Now the smaller the brush, kind of the brighter the color is going to be, unless you wipe it off a little bit. I feel like these actually pick up a little bit better than the brush. But you get a nice smooth effect when you're done. Do you see how smooth that is? And I can get into pretty small spaces with this little makeup brush. Let me try something different. I'm going to try this is the stump. Now this would be for like areas like this. So I would recommend that only in very, very small areas. Same with this tortillon. It will work to get in those tight spots, but it doesn't give as smooth of result. So if we can blend that out, then that's a little better. Do I have the wrong applicator? Yes. Oh well. What's a video without a blooper reel, huh? Now, as I get less on my brush, I'm getting less consistent results. I just went right over her hair. So this will be a good test. Let me see if I can erase that. Alright, I got my eraser. Let's just see. Now you gotta clean your eraser so you don't kind of burnish it in. So I was able to eliminate some of it, not all of it. Alright, let's try something else. Let's try our brush here. Pick up some. Now I think a stiffer brush is going to work better than a super floppy. This one isn't, you can see it has some give. But I can make it do what I want it to do. Okay, but not my favorite. I am going to try now. These actually work pretty well. This had a little green on it, and I kind of like that a lot. It's kind of a kind of and a lot. But that adds a little interest. Let's try our pan pastel. Let's get a little bit more of our light blue. Now this works really well. I'm able to get into the corners . So the shape of this is nice. I think the key to these is you always got to make sure you have material to spread when you use them for pan pastels too, because they're pretty fragile, maybe. But I like that I can really get in there, even in that little small area. I want to try, these are cotton buds. So I'm going to pick up a bunch on the cotton bud and then try and go in. I mean, it works in the sense that it gets color there, but it makes it a little more harsh. You don't get a smooth look with that. See if I can blend it out a little. This, the pan pastel feels a little, it almost feels a little sticky, which, I mean, it doesn't really change how it works, it just changes how it feels. Could be that with the lights and everything, it's drying out. So maybe doing smaller sections, meaning just putting a little bit on there and working that, because that feels, yeah, it's a lot better. It just glides when it's wetter or fresher or whatever you want to say. And then as it starts to dry, it gets almost sticky, I would say. Now this is the king art. But I like the effect that we got. And look how fast, even though, you know, it's not like I was trying to be fast. Let's put a little darker blue. Now with Distress ink and stuff, I don't normally, or even with the pan pastels, I don't normally clean these, but I'm wondering, see that's already starting to tear a little bit. I think it's because they stick a little, and then I kind of tear at it a little. I think for like these smaller areas, see how that worked really well to get into that crevice? It's just not my favorite for the, see how it leaves those marks? So I think the key is using something a little softer. Okay. Now we can always add more. I'm going to let that dry, and then I might go in with some white. Let's see if I can clean this. Enough to use it with another color. I don't know how hard it'll be. Because I do think you can. See, it'll stain it, but I wouldn't want to use this one for something like white, obviously, but I think that if I keep this like as a blue, I'm not going to have the remnants of that on it. Okay, next I'm going to use some Lyra, and I think I'm going to go in and just go direct to paper. Kind of using the side a little bit. The key to this is you just don't want to press it too hard into the paper, because then it will give you hard lines. Now we might get some anyway, we'll see. So I'm using a purple, a blue, and then a light blue. Now, I know at least with Neocolor 2s, you don't have to color every square inch, because as we add our water to this, it's going to fill in for us. And I find that this, I'm adding in like a reddish purple. I find that adding it in like this, meaning adding the different colors, I will get a nice blend without having to layer and all of that. Okay, let's see what we end up with. This was a water brush that was in my gelato packaging. But if you notice, see how it's wet, meaning I can feel that it's damp, right? See if I can squeeze some out. You can see the water on my hand there. But it's not pooling up. I actually like this brush quite a lot so far. And if I get a lot of one color and I feel like it's too much, I'm going to wipe my brush. But do you see how it'll spread? Now, that purple's pretty dark, so I want to be mindful of that when I activate, so that I don't just turn this entire thing purple. I didn't get enough there. I'm going to add a little bit more of the lighter color. just so I have enough pigment. Otherwise you might get those blank spots like this, and then we have to let that dry in order to go back in. And change water brushes. I feel like I'm not getting enough water. Okay. There we go. And then I can move that color up. You can see how that color will really take over if I allow it. So as I get a lot of it, wipe it off. But look at what a different look you get, the dry versus the wet. Now you can use these as a step-off point. Like I could let this dry and then go over it again with the same mediums. I could go over it with pencil. I can use like acrylic paint pens. I mean, I can do a lot of different things, but this is essentially providing me a very quick and easy background. Right? And I'm going to carry this color down. Into the crack there. You see I don't have any color, but this will, you know, spread. And you can see the purple really took over. And my water looks pretty purple. Oop. If you get too much water, just blot it off. But just be mindful, that right there is where you're going to get colors bleeding through. So be careful of your water. If this was a two-sided book, I would have a problem. Okay, we're going to let that dry and I'll be back. Okay, I am going to try to add some gelato clouds. Right, where is my little, I'm going to use my little dauber. Okay, now I'm going to add King's Art. Just give a little visual interest. We'll go directly to page here with just trying different things here. So I think it does work better to put on so these definitely fell apart pretty quick. It's starting to poke through. Now these are really inexpensive makeup brushes or pads or whatever you want to call it, but see how it's poking through? Try and mix that a little bit. So I just want to be mindful that where I'm putting my clouds, right, around it, like see how light this is? Then it kind of takes away from the cloud effect because then this part looks like a cloud too. So you just gotta play with it until you get the look you want. Okay, not great, but can I live with it? Yeah, I think I can. Okay, next I'm going to use this light blue by Mungio. I'm just going to add in a little bit just to draw this kind of color down into the water. Let's activate it. Okay, next I'm going to take that blue violet from the Lyra, and I'm just going to add it a little bit here at the top. We're just adding a little bit of color from down here, up here. Now, I don't know if this is going to work because that king art is also water activated. Is your water brush out of water? Yes. Okay. Got more water. You see, it's kind of removing some of that king art. So I don't know if this was our best idea. It's good to know how they work together. But I want it to match in style. So see how I have like the horizontal strokes going on now? So I want to make sure I carry those throughout the picture. Otherwise, our sky's going to look kind of weird. We can tidy up with the pencil with more king art if we need. And I think a lot of that is because I hadn't activated the king art. Okay, now that this is dry, I'm going to use Cobalt Blue from Mungio, and I'm just going to add in some more blue. Now, this is a dark blue, so I'm going to be mindful of that. but I feel like it's a little too purple pink. Alright, let's give this a go. Yeah, wow, that blue is bright. Really goes a long way, doesn't it? But the point of this is trying to show you that I'm mixing the different mediums together, different brands, trying to show you different ways to use it. You can use it dry, you can use it with a water brush. It's just a fun way to apply color. Now, whenever you use water, no matter what medium it is, you run the risk of going through your paper. Now, if you're a more patient soul than me, that risk isn't that large if you do it right. I, however, am very impatient. I like that a lot better. Another way that you can do this up here is we can apply a little bit of this color this way. So we'll mix all this. And we can apply it this way if we feel like we need to get around anywhere. You just want to make sure you don't get it too what's the word? Watery? But then you can just keep playing with it. The key though, let it dry in between your layers. Now I'm going and blow drying, not blow drying, I have a heat gun, which is different than a blow dryer, but I am drying it in between. Okay, so this is the Lyra light gray. Actually, I'm going to go in with the medium gray, and I'm just going to color where these dots are. Indicating the shadows. Right. And then the next darkest, just bringing that out a little bit. And then a little bit with the light. Not much. And we'll see how far our pigment goes and if I need to add more. A little bit of the darker here. All right, let's go ahead and activate that. Get our okay, now I'm going to go in with the lightest. And we'll fill it in here. Probably should have done that at the beginning. And you need to be careful you don't go over any of the spots that are wet, because you will get the bleed through. Bring that up to just blend it a little bit. Like I feel this spot is still wet. And this spot is a little bit. Okay, next up, let's color her skin. This is light peach, light flush. They didn't get the PC memo. Okay, it's pretty pink. Okay, make sure your water brush doesn't have any previous color on it. Now with this color, it seems like it lightens up a little as we use it. To me, it doesn't seem as pink now that it's activated. Alright, next up is zinc yellow. This is Lyra. It's just a bright pale yellow. Does that make sense? A bright pale yellow. Okay, I have not activated those, but next up I am going to use my Neocolor 2s. Okay, because I'm working in a very small area, I need to sharpen my Neocolor 2. I am not too worried. You can keep all these shavings. Can you see those in there? You can keep all the shavings, right? And you just put them like in a little watercolor pan and add a little water, and then you have your own paint. So that's one way not to quote unquote waste them. I consider a medium wasted if you're not utilizing it because you're afraid of running out of it. I think that there's a fine line between being wasteful and, you know, just not using your stuff to its fullest potential for fear of, you know, running out. I've had this one for a really long time. But sometimes you just got to get into those smaller areas. And because this Neocolor 2 is all pigment, it's a lot of pigment. And I'm doing the lighter color here on the leaves. Okay, and then I'm going to go in with the next darker color. I don't know if I like that one. Let's go in. This one is grass green. In general, I tend to be drawn to more olive greens. I don't feel like olive green would really work in this picture. Not sure I'm gonna like this either. We'll see. I think maybe a combination of the two, like mixing them. So let's figure out this. So what you can do is scratch off on your palette both your colors, and then you go in and you mix them. Now I'm purposely trying not to add in too much water. And then we can get this color, which is a little, see how dark that green is? It's a really bright green. Let's see what this does. This is bright green. And you know what I kind of like? That the green, that I'm doing different greens. So there's a little variance. I do like that. Because there's not too much of a variance to where it looks like way off, right? And maybe you think it does, I don't know. Now, could you have done with this with colored pencil and had it be a little tidier? Yes. Always an option. But I really wanted to do this whole page in gel mediums so that you could see that even in the small areas, it's possible. Now, let's talk about what if you just have these, right? the gel art or the king art, you would have to use the palette and like I am with this color. That's how you would do this on these smaller areas, because there's just no way to get that sharpened enough to be as functional as these crayons are, right? It's just not gonna work. But that doesn't mean that you can't use them. You just have to use them a little bit differently. Okay, now let's go in and I want to activate my flowers. I am going to add some orange, I think, to them. So I'll let them dry. Okay. Okay. We're going to go with a darker orange into a lighter orange. Into what I call a yellow with an orange tint. So it isn't a yellow like this one. Okay, so let's activate that. We want to clean our brush well. So I'm just bringing that top color up, and then I'm working my way down. If I start with the darker color and work my way up, that orange will take over all of it. Okay. Same here. Okay, and then our lighter one. And then our yellow. And I'm just going random. And then I think, let's go ahead and bring in this yellow. Not quite as much. And So I'm just trying to activate the dark ones here. Because once again, if I transfer between them, they're all going to come out dark. Okay. And if you're worried about going out of the lines and that kind of stuff, I would use pencils or use the palette technique. I'm going to color this. I will touch this up with pencil, so not too worried. Okay, I'm going with my darkest color. I'm going to do these little creases here, so we'll do all those first. Those are the easy dark areas for me. And then each one of these, so like this bends this way, right? So I'm going to put the darker on this side and the lightest here. And the medium here. Okay? And then the darkest here. What are you doing, girl? We'll go outside in a bit. Mama's still got some work to do, girl. Can you wait a little while? I know. 30 minutes, okay? 30 minutes and I'll take you out. Almost done. Okay, so this is sky blue, and I'm just going to use this on the wings here, just kind of at like the top of the wings. I am going to go in with pencil after this for more detail. I just want to bring in some of this blue that we used down in the water up into this little bird. Just here at the tops. Okay, and I am going to add a little bit more gray. To the rock. I may do more with pencil. We shall see. Get a paper towel. Have they disappeared? Yes. Okay. Just want to bring this color out just a little bit more. So I'm working on this next day. So this is all dry. Now you can see some of that had not been activated, this green. I had missed this when I activated. So when I went over that gray, it activated. So you got to be careful. Now, because this paper has been already activated once, see, I didn't activate his little orange legs before. So guess what? When I went over it, it activated. Pay attention to the details, Wendy. Put a little shadowing here under him. Most of this stuff, you know, coloring is supposed to be fun, and you can lose your mind over stuff like that. For me, I just try and work around it, right? So I got a little gray on her elbow, try and get it off. If it doesn't, there's always acrylic paint. I can make her skin darker, which probably wouldn't be a bad idea anyway. Smooth out a little bit. I like that there's a little more variance now. I don't like that this is all white, right? I mean, it's too white. So I'm going to darken around this area. And I'm going to be real careful here. Try not to get into the green. That's all been activated, so I shouldn't have a problem. But you never know when a little stray piece is going to get you. Okay. All right. Let's activate the blue now. I want to keep it up here at the top. So I'm starting at the end and pushing into the back. If I go this way, I'm going to get it into the tips. And I really don't want that. Now we can always go over it with white on the ends. But where I can, I want to salvage the white on the ends. Makes it a little easier. And you notice I am tapping off because I want to keep the kind of the same level of blue. And it's just kind of a good habit to get into when you work with these kind of mediums, because if you're used to doing this, you lessen the likelihood of spreading inadvertently when you don't want to. Okay, I am going to go in with gray. Maybe I'll just do that right now. Now be careful if you do this that your white is not wet. It will create a much darker line than maybe you're anticipating. Let's give his head a little form there. Okay, let's see how this works. And some of this detail you could totally do with pencil. If you have shaky hands or don't feel as comfortable, I just want to show that you can do an entire picture in this medium. But just because you can do something doesn't always make it the best way to do it. Not that there's a right or wrong, but you know what I'm saying. Okay, so I'm looking at the sky and I just feel like this pink is really standing out to me as not being a part of the whole picture as a whole. So I'm going to take that, the magenta that I put here, and I am going to put little bits of it in the lower part of the sky. Now I'm going to start with a little, and then I'm going to add more. I may even do these beads in the pink. We shall see. Let me see how this goes. I don't want too much, so I'm going to try and always check your water brush. Sometimes it gets a little jiggity with you. Now see, I feel like maybe this is a little too little, kind of like this more. So we shall see. See how I spread it out? So it's more subtle. But you can always go back in and add more. It's kind of hard to add less. And I'm actually kind of purposely trying to spread that out. But I'm liking that. This is a little much for me maybe. But not really. But see how we're already starting to get that to tie in a little bit? We're going to give that a second to dry. Don't be impatient, Wendy. Let it dry. Or you will have problems. So I'll be back. Okay, I am back, and I am going to add a little bit more. And I kind of want, I like those horizontal lines. I don't want them too uniform. So I don't want them to end specifically like, I want them to kind of fade away. See how I have a straight line there? We want them horizontal, but a little more organic. and to kind of fade. I am liking that a lot more. Up here I'm going to do quite a bit. I also didn't like that white line that we got when we put the Mungio on and lifted it. And lifted our, what were we using, the king art? Now, we can decide, do we want to add any of this purple? Possibly up here at the very top might work well. Let's do that. Okay, so I want to talk about this page and where we're at right now. This page could be done. We could be done at this point, right? But I do feel like it, well, I mean, I guess I gotta color those little bobbits, but we could feasibly be done. So you can color an entire page with the crayons. Now, I do feel like it would benefit from some colored pencil work, so that's what we're gonna do. So, but I just want to say that because I think sometimes we all think that every page has to be a masterpiece. Every page has to be perfect, right? But we're doing this for fun. I have a lot of fun doing this. Now, I am going to use some white highlights. I'm going to use a little pencil work to maybe add a little more zhuzh to our flowers and to our little beads and to her hair. I'm going to darken up her hair a little bit and maybe put a few little like stone type of, kind of like the dots type of thing on our rock, probably some clouds in the sky, and some sparkles on our water. So let's get started. Okay, here's the list of colors that I think I'm going to be using. These are all ChromaFlow with the exception of one. So it's Cardinal Red, Red Orange, Mariner, Slate Gray, Winter Lake, Oxford Gray, Glaucous Blue. Is that how you say it? I have no idea. Charcoal Gray, Amber Gold, Jungle Green, and then I pulled a dark green from the Prisma line because ChromaFlow just didn't have the right shade of dark green for what I was looking for. Okay? But feel free to use whatever green you have. All right. Okay, let's start with her hair. I am just making little flicking motions with charcoal gray. Go with the direction of the hair. So it's like I'm making strands. I just want to darken this up. I'm not doing anything fancy with her hair. I mean, there are beautiful ways of coloring hair. I don't know that I want to do that on this one. It sounds weird, but it's kind of a simplistic picture. And so I want to keep it very simplistic. Now I am leaving some lighter areas. Right? So here's like a highlight. But we're going to have simple hair. I am going to use my white to draw in some highlights here, and probably a little bit of the light gray. So a lighter gray would be Winter Lake. Now this is definitely grayer tones. But it's also going to tone back a little bit the harsh lines that I put in with the black or the charcoal gray or whatever. Okay. And then I'm going to go in with actual black. Just 1 minute. Okay, so this is black. Bring in because I do want the overall feel of her hair to be black and not gray. Okay, now I'm going to take that, what is this, the Glossious Blue. Bring that in just a little bit. It's a little more gray than I'd like. I hope this one isn't too blue. Mariner. So I do want a little bit of that blue to be in her hair. I don't want her hair to look dyed blue. I just want it as a highlight. You know, I'm going to stop being lazy. We're going to pull in Carolina Blue. It needed to be a brighter blue to look like a highlight. Just a little bit, right? I am not super impressed with the Chroma Flow Black, so I'm going to pull in Prisma Black. I want it just a little darker. Just in certain spots, right? And just kind of play with it until you're happy with it. That I'm happy with. Okay, so next up, I am going to take that Glossious Blue and I'm going to go into the deepest parts of this bird's wings. Just at where they meet, you know, back where the shadow would be. Just coloring it in just a little. Just add a little more depth. On the wing feathers. Up here a little. And I'm going to do the same thing on this bird. Okay, next up is Winter Lake. We're going to kind of define these shadows a little bit. Not a lot, but just right where the feathers meet. Where the head meets, kind of going up. Okay. And then we are going to take Cardinal Red. This is our darkest kind of red-orange. We're going to add a little more color here to the beak, where it meets, his legs meet. Okay, while we have this color, I'm going to come into this flower, right at the base. Do I push too hard? Yeah. Yeah, I do. I'm working on it, guys. I am. I've gotten better, I think, since I started coloring. So I'm going to define these a little bit better. Rotate your pencil to where you're using the sharpest point. And I'm going to kind of go on one side of these because I'm going to use white on the other side. So I'm doing the darkest all on the right side. If you hear noise, it is my loving husband outside with power tools, you know. At least they moved. They were right under my window. Okay, a little bit in the center of these flowers. I'm going to use another orange also, but we want to give it a little bit of definition. A little bit here at the base, getting lighter as you move up. Okay. Okay, you can see that little bit made a big difference. Okay, I have cardinal red. And I'm just filling in all those little dots there. And then I'm gonna bring just a little bit of that color down here. Okay. Amber gold. Gonna kind of smooth that out a little. I probably shouldn't sharpen those to such a fine point. It's really not the pencil's fault. Okay. Now I'm going to take that amber gold and blend this out. Okay. And here, just want to soften where I put some of that, the brighter red. Kind of bringing it up into the petals a little. It doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, in nature, everything is a little, like no two petals are the same. Okay, I'm going to take that cardinal red okay, blend it out. Just make sure you do that for all the petals. And then on these flowers, I'm just putting it at the base. Maybe just a little bit tucked behind. And then blending it out with that amber gold. Okay. Okay, and then I'm going to darken up just the very, very center. Just a little more, now that we blended all that out. Okay. Whoop, I missed one up here. Okay, let's give her arms a little bit more color. I am going to be using Burnt Sienna, which is 1900. And I'm going to go along her arm here where there would be a little shadow. Okay. Up under her neck. Along the inside of her arm. On the underside of this arm. Nice and light. Right here where these two arms meet, because this one would cast a shadow, right? And a little bit down here as well. See how it's starting to kind of look a little bit more like an arm? Up here along her face, in her hairline. A little bit along her nose and eye. Now, I don't want to get too crazy with this because, once again, this is a very whimsical drawing. Alright, so now I have Willow. And this one we're going to be very light with. We're going to go right into the deepest shadows. Just like this. We don't want too much of this. This is a pretty dark brown. It's almost like a, I guess it could be an ochre, but you know. Maybe a little bit in here. Just a little there. Okay. Alright. Now I'm going to go in and blend this out with salmon. The color salmon 0700. I just want to soften the edge. I'm not trying to lighten the color so much as just blending out kind of the pebbly look. And anywhere where it feels like there's just a line, I just want to soften all of that up. Okay. All right. What next? Let's go in with Cardinal Red. And let's go ahead and deepen up some of our shadowy areas here. These areas we're going to block off with this darker red. I just felt like our gel crayon wasn't quite as dark as I would like, which is fine because then we can do the detail here. But we're basically just following where we laid our darkest areas with our gel crayon. Now I got a pretty steep line there, or straight line, so I'm going to soften that up here, holding back further on my pencil. don't want to overpower it. We don't want to color everything. You can see how that's creating some depth there. I look at this piece as being over the top, like the top of the fold. And here it would kind of cast a shadow, be darker. We'll fade out a little bit. Same with here. Now I know sometimes people say, well, why would you use gel crayon if you're just going to color it with pencil? Well, for me, when I'm coloring this with pencil, if you notice, I'm not filling in the white tooth. That's already been done. And so by having that already done, I don't have to work so hard with a pencil. I don't have to do as many layers. I can just put in my shadowing and not be worrying about the tooth of the paper. So that's probably the biggest reason for me. And I just think it's fun. I enjoy working with them. Now, if you're someone that doesn't like how the colored, what do we got? Amber gold. How colored pencil, or how crinkly your paper will get, because it will get crinkly when you use water. So I'm just smoothing that out and then using that gel crayon as my highlight there. This pencil can also smooth out if you have just inconsistencies in your color. We want to use this color to, if there's a texture there, we want to try and blend that out. If not, you can use Gamsol, especially if your hands are, if you have hand difficulties, blending solution is your friend. If you don't, you can just use this color to blend everything out. It's light enough that I can go over the top of that, and it's translucent enough to bring out this color without overwhelming the rest of it, or without toning it back too much, right? So smoothing that all out. Okay. So that's just, for me, it doesn't bother me. I will, on pages like these, I use a water method to flatten my pages, and you can find that on the channel. You can also iron them, and I may do a video on that in the future, showing you a nice, safe, and easy way to iron. I never have my iron. I don't even know where my iron is, to be honest. Am I one of those people that I don't buy clothes that you have to iron? Yes. If it doesn't go in the dryer, I don't want it. Okay, let's do her little dress here. I'm going to deepen up some of these. Now, I'm not going to do all of them because some I want just this color, right? The dark that it already has. But it actually gives me another color by by coloring some of them with this cardinal red. This one I got some blue in the water on it, so I'm using that red to help disguise that. Okay, next up, our amber gold again. Okay, did I sharpen it so I could break it? Probably. I want to leave some of these that lighter yellow, because this is a more orangey yellow. And this is just a judgment call on how much of each color you want. Okay, next up, let's go in. I'm going to start with our Prismacolor green. This is dark green, right at the bases of the leaves. I'm going to go around this piece where it would be darker, the underside of that, where it meets here, anywhere it's kind of tucked under. Kind of shaky. I don't know if I had too much coffee or what. So right here where this meets, where this circle is, we're going to go in and smooth it out with that jungle green, the Chroma Flow. I just want it at the base of these leaves, so don't go out too far. Or should I say, I'm not going out too far. You can do whatever you'd like. Okay, now let's go in with that jungle green. Now here I kind of went out of the line, So just bring your green out a little. You know, I am going to bring in this grass green. Okay, because in some of these places, I want it light. Right? I want my leaves to Did I finish my sentence? I don't think I did. I'm so bad at doing these real-time videos. I want them to have a contrast between that dark green that I used. And I felt like that jungle green was gonna just blend it all out. I think I missed these. Now these aren't Prisma, so they don't just smush together. So you have to be kind of mindful of that. If you were using Prismacolor, you could just mush these together. I love that about Prisma. But basically, I'm just smoothing out the green. Making sure I don't have any, you know, uncolored spots or spots that have stark lines or anything like that. You can leave some of these lighter if you want. I am using a pretty firm pressure on this. There are some images where they just can handle being what I would call simpler coloring, meaning we don't have to nuance this, we don't have to make it look realistic. Not that I ever color hyper realistically, but you know what I'm saying, right? Like bunch of layers in the hair and, you know, more nuanced rope and deeper shadows and all of that kind of stuff. We're just, I don't know. I just don't think you have to have that for this. Okay, what do we got here? Let's take care of our rock a little bit. I have slate gray. And I'm going in to where my darkest areas are and just darkening them up a little bit. I don't want to bring this color too far down. Just a little bit on the undersides here. I did pick a gray that had a little bit of a blue tinge to it because a lot of this page is in the bluer tones. Okay, but just a little hint that this ledge kind of goes across like this. Don't worry, we're going to smooth that out. I see you panicking. Don't panic. It'll be okay. I hope. Okay. A little bit on the corners here. Anywhere there'd be kind of some shadowy areas, that's where we're putting this. If I want to touch up, like here my green went a little wonky, put a little gray in there, shadow it up, right? That's how we kind of fix our mistakes a little bit. Okay. I'm going to put a little, just a little on this edge. A little bit under here. A little under where the little feet are. Maybe, like I got some green there. Touch that up a little. This is allowing my green to be forgiven for getting outside of the lines. Okay. Okay, next up we're going to go in with our winter lake. So this is the second darkest color, right? I'm going to hold it farther back. So I don't get too much. Kind of blend out that darker color we put. Extending it out a little. Okay, and then we're going to follow up with Oxford Gray and just kind of blend them all together. Nice and light. I was feeling like this rock was just too white. So I wanted to change the overall look of the gray. Now here I got some green in it, and I don't care. It almost looks like moss. Now could I extend that into other areas and make it less noticeable? Probably. Will I? Let's see how lazy I am. Probably not, though. Okay, for her eyes, I am going in with Mariner. Okay. Oh, did we forget those? Yes. Let's go in with our Cardinal Red. Only on the outside. And then Amber Gold. Okay, and then I think I'm going to use that Cardinal Red on her lips. Yep. Okay. Okay, for the water, I'm going to go in with Carolina Blue. And I'm just blending everything out. Maybe I don't like this color. Let me try. There was a, what's it? I guess that was the light blue I used. One moment. Okay, gang, I am back with light blue. I've been adding these colors so that I can put this at the beginning. Light blue. Okay, here I felt like it was graying it out. It was doing a good job of blending, but it was just too gray. That blue wasn't shining through. It was just the gray part. See, and as I go over the pink now, this blue has enough that we're going to look purple, which is what we want because I don't really want gray. Nice and light, just kind of blending it all together. But you can see that the gel crayon did so much of the work. I am just having to do one light layer to get our water, right? And we still have the variance going on. So in my last video, I talked about my next door neighbor got a puppy, and I flashed a picture. And I talked about Christine, my friend in Canada, also got a puppy for Miss Molly. She wanted Molly to have a friend. So it is Molly's half-brother. His name is Finnick. However, I didn't have a good picture. But I do now. So look on your screen and look at that adorable little puppy. He's like right around 3 to 3.5 pounds. Molly's about 5.5. I know I've showed her on the video before, but I'll try and find a good picture of her and flash her up there. I might have to scroll back a little ways. But he's just adorable. I'm such a puppy person. I love them so much. Don't get me wrong. There is no way I would take on a puppy right now. Ellie would love to have a friend, but she's going to have to just deal with having mom and dad and being spoiled rotten all by herself. Because I have a lot on my hands right now, and I don't have time to put into the training. Puppies are adorable and I love them so much, but they have a lot of energy. And it just takes time, you know, you're potty training, you're getting up in the middle of the night. You know. So I just need Christine to come and visit me and bring Molly and Finn. And then that way Ellie will have another couple of friends. Okay. Now, it's not perfect. I did have some requests for blending solution, so maybe I will show you how to do that with this water. Okay. Okay, what I'm using is this. This is Gamsol, right? It's an odorless mineral spirit. Now you can also use something like Zest It. I have this one, which I don't know if they are selling this anymore. I had heard that maybe they weren't. This is also one that I feel like is a good replacement for Zest It. This is Eco House Extra Mild Citrus Thinner. The ingredients are pretty much the same as the Zest It, and this is sold in the US and Canada. I'm pretty sure I got this at Blick when I was in Nebraska, but I have the memory of a gnat, so I'm not gonna 100% swear on it. Okay, so these are just cotton buds, and you just dip it in. Now, you don't want too much, okay? Because if you get too much, then it just it gets smeary. But you're just gonna go over this area. Now, because I don't care if these colors blend together, I want them to do that. I am using this wide cotton bud, and I'm just going over everything, right? But I'm just trying to get any white spots out. You can see, do you see that line? So you can tell now it'll get a little darker like this, and then it'll dry, okay? And you will see a difference. Now this is that area where I had that gray or blue. Let's get it blended out, and then we'll decide if we want to add some other colors to it. This does not take much. Try and keep the book completely in the picture. So it's pretty straightforward with this kind of thing, where it's all, you just blend it. You're not worried about bringing too much purple into the blue or whatever. You wouldn't want to do this if you were, like if I was blending this green, I wouldn't want to use this tip, this Q-tip, and I wouldn't want to be this blasé about it, right? Just going over everything. That's where these other tips come in. So I'm going to finish this. Okay, let's talk about, we're going to do the same thing on this tail, but because I have difference in colors, I am only taking this over the dark areas because, as you can see, if I go down into this area now, see how it brought that darker color in? So we don't want to do that. But as I blend, you see these little white marks here? Little dots, right? They virtually disappear. So that is what this does. It's going to smooth and blend it all out. Now, if I want to blend the lighter, I'm going to dip a fresh bud in there, and now I work on the light. That way I keep the light. But you can see how much smoother that looks. Any harsh lines kind of go away. Alright, now let's change cotton buds. These have a pointy nib. Now, could you use something like this? Yes, you could. But see how it gets the color on there? Every time I need to change color, I gotta go find my sandpaper and scrape it off. So the lazy part of me often uses the Q-tips. Now, I don't want to blend out all of this. Why not? I like that it looks a little textured. So I'm blending out some of these shadowy areas so that they transition a little bit better. Anywhere I feel like right here, I feel like I have kind of a harsh line, I am going to blend it out a little bit. Smoothing it into surrounding areas. But I don't want to take away all of the texture, because rock is textured, right? But I do feel like in the dark areas, it would be dark. There wouldn't be like little white dots, so I want to smooth that if I can. Okay? Just look and see. Now you may find that if you do this, you may say, oh, I feel like I have to do all of it to get it smoothed out. That is totally fine. There's no right or wrong way. Yours is going to look different than mine no matter what. Even if you're following this tutorial, it will be a little different. So you just have to make that judgment call for yourself. I am just looking and saying, oh, I need to blend more here. I need to, you know, leave that alone, whatever. Okay, now on this side, I haven't used this one. I'm going to dip in. Try not to dip in. If you get, like, sometimes you use a color and it'll leave a lot of color in there. Be careful of that you don't pick it up on your cotton swab and transfer it. Have I done that before? Oh, yes, I have. I know, you guys are shocked out of your boots because, you know, I never have any mistakes. I never need a blooper reel. I amuse myself. Okay. I'm going to blend out her face just a little. Be careful around the lips. You will smear them and you will create, you know, red on her face. Okay, we need one more. I want to go in to our birds here. And smooth out the little head. See how that kind of softened that up a little? I start off on the white, like where I don't have any of that gray, and I move into the gray, and then out a little. Okay, do all the gray first, Wendy. See, it just softens that a little bit. Okay. Now, other side. It's not, you could probably get away with using the blue side. But we want to keep these vibrant as we can. Just smoothing out the transition. Right? See the difference between those? Nothing wrong with this way. Just depends on the look that you're going for, but I'm just softening the transition ever so slightly. Okay. That's it. Now, why didn't we use Gamsol on the sky? Well, because we didn't put any colored pencils, right? Now, could we? Sure. But I'm okay with the way it is. All right. All right, guys. We're down to the final bits. I am using a Posca 1mm 0.7 or 1M 0.7 millimeter. And I'm going to go and put a little white around our flowers, the flower tips. Okay, you see how that really makes them pop? Maybe a little white center in that one. On her glasses. I don't know about her lip. Just a little dot on each of these beads. Okay. just like that. Okay. I don't know if I'm gonna like this. I don't think I do. Don't be impatient. If you mess up, wait for it to dry, scrape it off. Did I do that? No. Do I know better? Yes. Yes, I do. Maybe you guys watch this to see what not to do. That would be fair. I really love how white highlight can make a difference. Now I have some pages that I don't use it at all, right? I just don't. And then there are other pages like this one that I use it a lot. So I'm going to add a few light areas in her scales. Now this would be a good image if you wanted to try the glitter effect. I don't think I'm going to. Not sure like that. We'll see. I'm gonna let it dry, and then we will see if we want to do anything to it. Let's look at our boat. Let's see, do we want... Maybe. What is that? Is that just simply say, oh yeah, just forgot to extend it out. Okay. Okay. I don't know if I like that. Did you ever do something and then you're like, wish I wouldn't have done that? That might be where I'm at right now. Let's let that dry and we'll think about it. Okay, so let's think about this. So I'm just using my fingernail. Tone this back a little. Okay, and where it doesn't come off, where's that amber gold? Okay, so we're gonna tone that white back with this color. Is that gonna be perfect? Nope. Are we gonna live with it? Probably. So guys, here's an example of sometimes you're going to do stuff that you don't like. And you're going to have to learn to fix it. Sometimes when you fix it, you will find you liked it more. I'm not saying I do in this case. I'm saying that you're going to learn that nothing is insurmountable. You're not going to ruin your page. Like, I've seen people, they make this tiny little mistake, like go out of the line somewhere, and they throw the whole page out, or they stop working on it, and I'm like, just keep on keeping on. Okay, let's zoom in. So I decided I didn't really like my Posca. So I've got my Gamsol. I get my little tiny Q-tip. And I'm going to go over it a little bit. Now, is this going to make it better or worse? Let's see. I'm getting it off. Now, you got to be careful. Like right here, I could very easily pick up that orange and drag it into the bird. So you want to be careful. And you might end up blending your colors a little bit more than you want. So you got to decide if it's worth it. I wanted to try this. Now, here, I think I definitely got it off for the most part, but things look a little muddy. So I may have to go back in now and redefine the blue for the sky. Maybe add some white to kind of brighten it up. But a lot of times you can tell right away, like here on the hair. See? Now it's gone. So if you haven't done the whole area like I did, it can be a pretty easy fix. And if you're more patient than I am, you'll probably get better results. Not even, oh, be careful. Remember where I wet this with the water when I went over it? See how I caused some damage there because that paper was wet. And I wasn't thinking about that. So be patient, take your time. Try not to bring the orange into the bird. Okay. Now, put your lid on your mineral spirits. I am going to take light blue. And I'm going to touch up here around the bird. Now you might like the bird with the white. I could have went all around his wings, and that probably would have helped. But you can see this is kind of fixing it up a little bit. Is it perfect? Nope. Can I live with it? Yeah. I will flash a warning when I do the editing. So hopefully you got the warning and didn't put the white on there until you watched the whole thing and decided if you want to keep it with the white or not. So we're just touching up that area there. Okay, and right here by her hair. Okay, this area I kind of messed up, so let's bring it out a little. Okay. Now, is this ideal? No. Ideal is what we strive for. Do we always achieve it? No. You can go in with a colored pencil like I am. You can also go in with like a fine liner and redefine your lines where we kind of went over them. All right, let's work on our water a little bit. am going to use my Posca and I'm just dotting here along the horizon line. Try and keep your strokes up and down. Now we want them in a line, but I don't want them like this, right? We want variety in the strokes. But I do want to kind of cover up that line a little bit. Okay. See, and just kind of where her tail comes out. A little bit right here along the rock. Okay, so I'm just going to add some more randomly, and I'll be back. Okay, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this real-time video, and I apologize for the length, but here she is, all done with our white sparkles. Now, the one thing we could do is we could make this glittery, but I don't think I'm going to today. So that's it for this one, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you for watching another video from Jazzydoodledesigns. If you'd like even more Jazzydoodle and a little more snark, please check out the membership below. If you're looking for a community where you can share your work and chat with other fellow colorists in a safe and welcoming environment, hit the subscribe button to Jazzydoodledesigns and then look for Jazzydoodledesigns Coloring Community on Facebook. And there you can join a group of fellow colorists to talk all things coloring and share cute pet pictures. I hope to see you there, and until next time, happy coloring.